This video outlines key considerations for Section 3 program compliance at the program and project level. The considerations offered in this video are based upon promising practices that were shared from grantees in the field. Developing a Section 3 plan is a best practice and a recommended strategy for achieving Section 3 compliance. A Section 3 plan can serve as a guide for grantees to think through the steps needed to implement the requirements and can help grantees meet the Section 3 goals. A strong Section 3 plan clarifies the purpose of the Section 3 plan, outlines how Section 3 applies to a specific HUD program or multiple programs, describes safe harbor benchmarks, certification procedures, and order of priority requirements for employment, training, and contracting opportunities, outlines realistic qualitative efforts for grantees, subrecipients, contractors, and subcontractors, and clarifies roles and responsibilities. Overall, the planning process is an opportunity to gain buy-in from all stakeholders, including the community at large, contractors, and staff at all levels. Grantees can use their Section 3 plan to outline qualitative efforts that apply to their Section 3 program and qualitative efforts that can be made at the project or contract level by subrecipients, contractors, and subcontractors. Examples of qualitative efforts at the program level may include capacity building efforts that the grantee will undertake to build a pipeline of Section 3 workers and businesses to meet the Section 3 goals. Examples of this may include collaborating with partners to refer persons who are low income into construction-related apprenticeships. Another example may include developing innovative strategies for sharing and connecting businesses with business development resources such as small business development centers, small business administration resources, and procurement technical assistance centers that can help them with capacity building to bid on Section 3 contracts. Making policy decisions that increase the participation of small businesses on Section 3 projects by reducing barriers, like finding opportunities to break down the scope of consolidated or bundled purchases so that small businesses have the opportunity to compete on contracts, or incorporating equitable and accessible outreach methods that reach segments of the population outlined in the order of priority requirements. Overall, qualitative efforts at the program level should support the qualitative efforts of contractors and subcontractors at the project level. There are also key program considerations that can be made at the planning stage, including streamlining the Section 3 worker and Section 3 business certification process for grantees and contractors, and establishing the mechanism for collecting and reporting data. For certification, grantees may establish a process for the different types of certification methods, including self-certification, employer certification, or certification from a PHA or property manager or owner of Section 8 assisted housing. Another way to meet the Section 3 goals is to make key policy decisions at the program level that serve as a guide for project or contract compliance. All policy decisions that are made at the program level must be consistent with existing federal, state, and local laws and regulations. Many grantees across the nation have identified a process for embedding Section 3 into their procurement process, which has helped with project or contract compliance. At the program level, grantees can identify what processes will need to take place at the pre-bid or pre-proposal stage to help with project or contract compliance. These decisions must be consistent with existing federal, state, and local laws and regulations. Key questions to ask during this stage include: can pre-bid meetings be mandatory? And what information should be shared at pre-bid meetings for all Section 3 projects? Grantees have leveraged pre-bid meetings to communicate with contractors and subcontractors by providing an overview of the Section 3 requirements in a simple and easy-to-understand format, communicating the purpose and value of Section 3 to gain support, reviewing criteria for Section 3 eligibility, reviewing Section 3 forms, answering questions, confirming expectations, sharing resources. During the pre-bid or pre-proposal process, grantees can walk bidders or offerers through their Section 3 plan, explain the Section 3 benchmarks in the certification process, outline the order of priority requirements, provide examples of qualitative efforts, review Section 3 forms and the Section 3 provisions, and answer questions. During the pre-bid meeting, grantees should document attendance and keep a record of the agenda, which outlines the Section 3 information that was shared during the meeting. At the program level, grantees may also consider how their organization defines a responsive and responsible bid. Through bid evaluation, a contract is awarded to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. A bid is considered non-responsive if the bidder does not respond to each of the bid requirements. One way that grantees have included Section 3 into the bid process is by incorporating Section 3 forms into the required bid documents. The forms serve as a tool for collecting Section 3 information that is needed from a bidder, such as certifications and acknowledgement of the requirements. Other types of information may include a contractor's plan that outlines how the bidder elects to comply with Section 3, certification documents, or an estimate of labor hours. In this process, if a bidder fails to complete and submit the Section 3 forms, they can be considered non-responsive. During the evaluation process, on the project or contract level, grantees should review the Section 3 information that the bidder submitted, determine if the bidder responded to each of the requirements, and then award the contract to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. Before awarding a contract, grantees may use this time to ask for additional Section 3 information that can be used to help track compliance. Some of the documents that can be helpful to grantees before awarding a contract may include a list of all workers designating their Section 3 and targeted Section 3 status, and new positions and subcontractors needed. For each project or contract, grantees should confirm that a bidder or offerer is not on the debarred list of contractors and keep documentation of their status and collect required information or documents. At the program level, grantees should establish the Section 3 language that is required to be included in all Section 3 contracts, and should identify when the language should be incorporated in all subcontracts. For Section 3 projects funded with housing and community development financial assistance, grantees must include Section 3 language that applies the Section 3 requirements to all Section 3 contracts. For all Section 3 contracts, it is the grantee's responsibility to ensure that the order of priority requirements of Part 75.19 are met throughout the life of the project. For public housing financial assistance, recipients must include Section 3 application language in contracts and agreements. Language must require contractors to include Section 3 language in subcontracts and subagreements, and require all contractors and subcontractors to follow the prioritization requirements of Part 75.19, regardless of whether Section 3 applicability language is included in contracts. Sample language available for public housing financial assistance can be found in PIH Notice 2022-10. For construction projects, once a contract is awarded, grantees should consider what information will be shared at all pre-construction conferences for Section 3 projects. During the pre-construction conference, grantees can walk contractors and subcontractors through the Section 3 basics, including the Section 3 benchmarks, Section 3 worker and Section 3 business criteria, certification procedures, qualitative efforts, Section 3 provisions, reporting requirements, record-keeping requirements, and contractor and subcontractor roles and responsibilities. The pre-construction conference is also an opportunity to answer questions, gain buy-in, and provide helpful tools and resources such as quick guides, job aids, and forms. For program oversight, grantees can develop policies and procedures that outline the type of records that will be kept at the program and project level. For example, at the program level, grantees may opt to keep records of capacity building efforts, while at the project level, grantees should require contractors and subcontractors to keep records of labor hours, worker and targeted Section 3 worker certifications, certification that efforts were made to follow the order of priority, and qualitative efforts that were made. Plans and policies should also establish the length of time that contractors and subcontractors will maintain records. At a minimum, all records should be kept for the time period required for record retentions in accordance with the applicable program regulations. The types of records that must be kept at the program level include documentation of qualitative efforts, procurement and contracting records to identify the dollar amount of each covered contract awarded during the time span under review, documentation of awarded contracts and subcontracts, and documentation of efforts to provide economic opportunities to business concerns and workers in order of priority outlined in Section 3 requirements. At the project level, grantees must collect all records and documents showing total labor hours worked by all workers, labor hours worked by Section 3 workers and targeted Section 3 workers, Section 3 worker, targeted Section 3 worker, and Section 3 business concern certifications, awarded subcontracts, qualitative efforts, efforts to provide economic opportunities to business concerns and workers in order of priority outlined in Section 3 requirements, and procurement and contracting records that identify the dollar amount of each covered subcontract awarded during the project and include Section 3 language. Grantees can leverage their Section 3 plan, policies and procedures, and contracts to communicate reporting requirements for subrecipients, contractors, and subcontractors. Plan, policies, and procedures can outline what information should be reported, the timeline for reporting, and instructions for how to report. Overall, reporting should be simple and easy to follow. According to grantees, the best reporting systems fit seamlessly within existing reporting processes for contractors and subcontractors. At the project or contract level, grantees should be collecting, reviewing, and evaluating data that is reported. Grantees have leveraged software to help with data collection in addition to forms for manually tracking data. Grantees may request that the contractor submit reports on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis, or with a submission of an invoice. Many grantees also request a comprehensive report at the end of a contract or project. Important things to note are Davis-Bacon certified payroll records can be used to track Section 3 labor hours, and if a contractor does not have a time and attendance system, a good faith estimate of labor hours may be used to determine labor hours. Information that should be collected at the project or contract level include total labor hours worked by all workers, labor hours worked by Section 3 workers and targeted Section 3 workers, Section 3 worker, targeted Section 3 worker, and Section 3 business concern certifications, and qualitative efforts and efforts to provide economic opportunities to business concerns and workers in order of priority outlined in Section 3 requirements. Grantees can establish a process to help prepare for a compliance review conducted by HUD. At the planning stage, grantees may create a checklist that outlines the types of documents that are needed for a compliance review, including business and worker records, outreach documents, and other documents. Grantees should establish a monitoring process for all Section 3 projects or contracts to ensure contractors and subcontractors are complying with Section 3 and keeping appropriate records. Developing criteria that establishes the frequency of monitoring and manner of monitoring will be a helpful strategy for evaluation. Monitoring can be done as often as the grantee would like and across all projects or a few projects. During an on-site monitoring visit or desk review, grantees can use this time to review contractor and subcontractor records and ask questions. During the review, grantees can evaluate the actual work hours reported from a contractor or subcontractor's payroll data against Section 3 reports that are submitted, and can conduct interviews about qualitative efforts. After a monitoring visit or desk review, grantees will determine if the subcontractor or contractor is complying with Section 3. If the contractor is failing to meet the Section 3 goals, they may be subject to making corrections as outlined in a corrective action policy. At this time, a grantee should help the contractor get back into compliance. To achieve project compliance, the grantee's role is to equip contractors and subcontractors with the right tools to meet the Section 3 goals. Grantees can consider hosting continual training to reinforce the requirements before and throughout the life of a contract or project. One-on-one technical assistance may be necessary due to staff turnover or due to non-compliance. Continual, clear communication with contractors and subcontractors is also key. Grantees should keep lines of communication open and be ready to assist as needed. Lastly, grantees should be evaluating their program as a whole on a continual basis to understand what is working well and what could be improved upon. Trends are often identified after monitoring. Grantees can propose changes to policy and programs as appropriate when issues or inefficiencies are discovered.